terms of any termination of pregnancy. To start, we updated the medical termination binder. It looks like this now, and on the side, if you're looking for it, it will have medical elective termination binder on the side. On the inside, in the front pocket, you're going to first see the laws and rules associated with this, and this is the memorandum that states some of the new requirements in terms of terminations in Ohio. We did create a checklist that's at the very front. One of the first requirements is a confidential abortion report. You have to complete page 1 of this confidential abortion report, and the provider needs to sign for every single termination, whether medical or elective, at any gestational age. Obviously, we can only do terminations at less than 23 weeks, and it has to be a medical indication between 20 weeks to the 23 and 6-7 weeks. If there is a medical indication for termination at 20 weeks to 23 and 6-7 weeks, page 2 also has to be signed by a second physician not related to our attending provider. Typically, we have MFM be that person. So this needs completed for all terminations, whether in our facility. We also have a medical termination of pregnancy consent form. This is for a medical termination if is necessary for prevent a serious risk to the mom. So that's the consent form that needs to be completed. If the patient doesn't necessarily have an immediate risk to herself and it's deemed elective or non-medical, there is a consent form on the other side of this pocket that is for that consideration. And that person, should they have that, would need this form signed 24 hours in advance of commencing with any termination of pregnancy. This new form here is a consent form that's required if the pregnant patient is less than 18 years of age, and it requires parental consent. They'd have to be less than 18 years of age, unmarried, and unemancipated, and that form needs to be completed by the parent. This is an additional new form. It's called a notification of rights form. It basically says that the patient has the right to determine the disposition of the fetus, whether buried or cremated, and then it lists the options available at no cost to them, which for us is the Care Memorial Garden at Highland. So that's a notification of rights form. And there is also another form that the provider has to sign, which I will place in here, that states what the patient chose as their choice of burial. The post-abortion care report for complications is necessary to be completed if the patient has any complications following the termination of pregnancy, including hemorrhage, infection, cervical laceration, etc. There's a list on the form that states the complication, and if there's another, the provider needs to fill this out. If the pregnant patient is having a non-medical termination, they must receive a copy of this Pregnancy Resources Guide. Now this guide is 65 pages, so we only have one copy in here, otherwise it would be too much. You can also print it off the ODH website, but we have it here for you so you can actually just make a copy for the patient. Then they also need to get the fetal development guide. This too is 30-some pages, so please just make a copy of that to give to the patient for non-medical indications. Risk similarity. You could just make a copy of this. This is also available on the ODH website. So this will be on First Day side, and I will send emails to update on any further changes or as we interpret these changes, if anything, we change anything in this binder. So